Hello, this is Mr. An. We're going to go over the classwork for geometry. The classwork questions I'll be going over are these, plus I'd like to start you off on your reading and the little difficult aspect of example 2. On page 627, we're going to start with number 2, so please open up your book. In your book, we have a rectangular prism that looks like this. The formula for finding the volume of a rectangular prism is to find the base and multiply that with the height of the 3D shape, or 3D solid, I should say. So first we have to identify what is the base. So I'm going to take the bottom side as my base. So bottom side is a rectangle, so for a rectangle the formula is base times height. So that's going to be my base, that's going to be my height. Or vice versa, it doesn't really matter. And then I'm going to multiply it with the height of the 3D solid, which is this height here. And that in your book was 2 inches. Multiply that all together and you get 80 inches cubed. Number 11, we're going to find the volume as well, but it's for a cylinder. Because it's going to be a prism-like shape, it's still going to be base times height. It's just that the base is going to be a circle, so we're going to use the area of a circle as opposed to a rectangle, which was base times height. In our cylinder, we have a diameter of 5, so therefore our radius is going to be 5 divided by 2. I'm going to keep that as a fraction to make sure that my answer is going to be accurate. Now here comes the difficult part. It says in your picture that the height is 6 meters, but it's slanted. What do I do when it's slanted? You're going to end up reading about the Cavalieri's principle right after this video. And what it states is that if the base of the solid is the same as the base of the other solids, and if the height, that means the perpendicular height, is going to be the same as well, so the base and the height are the same, that means the volumes must be the same as well. So it doesn't matter how slanted it is going to have the same volume as a perpendicular and straight upward cylinder. So my height is indeed 6. We multiply this out. So 5 over 2 squared is going to be 25 over 4. Multiply that to the pi and we get 25 pi over 4. Multiply that with the 6. Now I'm going to cross simplify before we take our final multiplication. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 2 goes into 4 2 times. 25 times 3 is 75. Times pi is 75 pi. And then 2 on the bottom. That's the way I would like you to express your answer, but there's a perfect decimal, so you can write 37.5 pi as well. Number 12 is a volume for a composite shape. That means composite solid. That means a solid with more than one parts. So from this picture, which is a copy of your classwork picture, all I did was cut it here. So I have this volume and this volume, which I just have to add to find the total volume. So it's a rectangular prism. So the formula is going to be base times height, rectangular prism. So overall base times height. The base itself is going to be a rectangle, so that's base times height. The base also is a rectangle, so base times height. Plug in the information and then you're done. Just to show you where I got the information, however, if I cut this here, I now have 3 centimeters and 2 centimeters, as you can see here. So my height here is 5. This is 2. And then this length should be the same as this length, which is the same thing as this length, which is the same thing as this length, which is why this is 8. Or 8 up here. So the 2 times 8 to give me the base area, then the overall height of 5. Same thing happened for the second volume. If I cut it exactly here, I have a measurement of 4, I have a measurement of 8, and then I have a height of 2. Base times height for the area of the base of the rectangular prism, and then the height of the rectangular prism on your calculator, and then you're done. Just keep in mind it's centimeters cubed. All right, number 27 is a word question. You just have to work backwards from it. They gave you the volume of a cylinder. The formula is going to be base times height. The base is a circle, so that's where we got this expression. They told you that the volume is going to be 135 pi, so we're working backwards here. They did not give you the radius. In fact, they asked you to find the radius, but they did give you the height. So plug that information into this equation, and we can solve it, since we only have one unknown. I'm going to divide both sides by 15. 15 cancels out, and I get this expression. 135 and 15 comes out to 9. If you wanted to simplify, they're both divisible by 5. And now they're both divisible by 3. So that's how we got 9, or 9 over 1. From here, I'm going to divide both sides by pi, since pi is a number. Cross the pi out, and I get 9. R squared is 9, so therefore R is square root of 9 plus or minus. 9 does have the factors 3 and 3. I have a pair of 3, so it should come out to 1, 3, and nothing else remains in the square root. It's still a plus or minus, but you cannot have a radius of a cylinder that's a negative. So that's why the answer is a positive 3. 34 is a composite solid question again. Since they're asking you to find the volume of this shape, a donut, if you will, donut cylinder. So basically, it's a big cylinder with a middle cylinder cut out. So we're going to, of course, subtract the volumes. Volume, again, it's a cylinder, so base times height, but the base just happens to be a circle. Plug in the information. You're given the diameter, so make sure you divide by 2 to find the radius, and then you're done. The directions, however, asked us to find it to the nearest tenth, so I did 40 times pi on my calculator and rounded to the nearest tenth place to get this answer. We are done with our classwork, but I'd like to go over a part in example 2 in your reading that you will do. In example 2, they asked you to find the volume of a triangular prism. So it's still a prism, so you're going to do base times height, but my base is no longer a rectangle. It's going to be a triangle, so you do have to multiply half to it. The problem with this is that I don't know the height. I know the base because all the 3 sides are the same. It's going to be an equilateral triangle, as you can see here, but I do need to find the height. Let's use the fact that it's an equilateral triangle to our advantage. Because the 3 sides are the same, the 3 angles must be the same. And for a triangle with 3 angles the same, we've looked at this case before, but the angles must be 60 degrees. So I can replicate this half here. Since this is 60 degrees and I'm going to create a height that's going to be perpendicular 90 degrees, the only other angle that could exist is 30 degrees. So if we just plop that over here, this is a nice 30, 60, 90 triangle. We know the formula for this. 30 degrees is always going to be across the smallest side, or x. 60 degrees is simply going to be the longer leg, or x times square root of 3. And then the hypotenuse will always be 2 times the shortest length. So because 8 is 2x, I know that my shortest side is going to be 4, and therefore this is going to simply be 4 square root of 3. That was important for us because now I know my height. Now I know my height. Now I know my height. So going back to the equation at hand, I knew the base already. The base was going to be 8. And now I know the height to be 4 square root of 3. The height of the prism is going to be 10. And then we get this once we multiply 8. Now I'm going to cross simplify here. Half of 8 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 10 is 160 times the square root of 3. And that's your answer. All right, good luck on the